folks, welcome back to Game Geeks. I'm your host, Kurt Wiegel. Today's episode, we are doing Interface Zero, which is a Savage Worlds powered cyberpunk setting. Now, this is a very, very large book. This is 323 pages, and bluntly, it's 323 pages of a lot of awesome. I'm not that much of a cyberpunk fan. I'm going to say that up front. My exposure to the genre has been fairly limited to some of the standard movies, films, and tropes that we all know. I played a lot of Cyberpunk 2020 in college, and that's been about it. I've completely missed the boat on Shadowrun and any of its iterations, which I know most people find very difficult to believe. Additionally, it's the grim darkness and native noir of the setting throws me off a little bit because I like settings where I have to have some sort of constraint in line for my players to behave themselves. Because an out-and-out crazy, whee, let's kill everything sort of thing, I don't know that I want to run a game in that environment. So what you get with Interface Zero is it is an extremely large toolbox. Now, that's not to say that there are not any specific setting stuff in here, but one of the things you can get out of this is you can run this in almost any imaginable cyberpunk sort of setting. Do you want your more archetypical, gritty, it's always raining and everything has graffiti and everything is wrong with the world sort of cyberpunk street level setting? Sure. Do you want something a bit more hopeful as we're trying to overcome our more atavistic roots and transcend into something else? Yes. Do you want a purely transcendent human game where we've put ourselves into computers and we run drones out in deep space now as a way to explore what it is to be human? Absolutely. These are all, and anything in between, these are all things that Interface Zero can do for you. I think one of my favorite pieces of this is the fact that it is so modular and toolkitty, a phrase I've never used before and likely never will again, in nature. For example, when it gives you the player races, everything from a bog standard human to a genetically modified and perfected human, androids, cyborgs, bioroid, which is a biological organism, which kind of harkens back to, I know I'm talking about Farscape a lot, but I love the setting, the bioloids in Farscape. So wow, bam, there are your Savage Worlds rules for something like that. Hybrids with other animals and simulacra. From there, and with that, you can also, it gives you a pretty broad number of archetypes, different sorts of characters. If you want to just pick up and go, plug and play, whatever you want to do, these are great. Now, I don't often talk about the art in a book because I'm not an artist, and I figure if they can do anything better than me, which is anything really, then I have no ground to complain. But the art in this book is absolutely magnificent. Each piece shows off exactly what it is you're looking at. It gives you a great idea of the mood, the tone, and the theme of each and every setting, each and every idea, each and every character. As my friend Jordan often says, I look at this and there's not a piece of art in here that doesn't make me want to play in this setting right now. And that's exactly how I feel looking at this. The gear section, which, let's face it, who doesn't want more toys, is equally well done, where it gives you a broad option on weapons, armor, drones, vehicles, you name it. Now, beyond just the modularity and the toolkit-like nature of this, the other thing it gives you is this is a setting embedded in here, and the setting starts on page 100 in the PDF and goes all the way, and I just want to give you an idea, to 260. So you get a lot of setting information here of what the world is like in this era. And again, you can use this setting and it gives you the entire cut of cyberpunk applicability in there, or you can use it to modify your own. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't know that there's ever been a setting or a game that I haven't hacked pieces out of and put in other stuff that I like. I'm sort of a tinkerer that way. I always have to modify. One day I'll be able to run a straight game without actually, screwing it up. So you could use this as your setting. And honestly, looking at this, I'm really tempted to, because it gives you enough detail down to things like it gives you a proper city for you to use, Chicagoland, or you can be out in the solar system. You can be in Jupiter and Saturn and the other colony territories and running the cyberpunk type feel out there. Obviously, each one would give you a very different tonal shift, which I think is one of the real strengths of this book. So, this book, again, at the time of this filming, this PDF, which was provided to me by the publishers, at the time of this filming, this book will be out very soon for pre-order and then final ship. I can't tell you how much I really like this book. It's worthy noting that, as we mentioned back in the Sci-Fi Companion, if you want really detailed hacking rules, it points you to this. The rules in this are very well thought out. The rules in this are very well conceived, and they are brilliantly executed. I'm using a lot of superlatives here. It's almost like I went through the amazingly fantastic hyperbolic chamber before I came here. But between the sci-fi setting and this, I've seen a lot of love recently for Savage World sci-fi, a setting that I've always, a setting or specific application for that rule set that I've always kind of on, partly because of my own issues with sci-fi and partly because I'm just not sure how it would do with that. I now have complete faith. This is a specific setting, is so well detailed for cyberpunk that if this is a genre you like and you have even a passing for Savage Worlds, you cannot possibly go wrong here. Let me say this one more time. This is a really great book. The big giant head commands you to read it. Folks, if you like cyberpunk, you cannot go wrong here. I highly recommend this. For Game Geeks, I'm your host, Kurt Wiegel. Good day and good gaming!